lots of good,
Cool.
lots of good things going on just in general. And I'm going to admit a couple more people here, and then we're going to fire up and let everybody else join while we watch the Altos research video. So here we go.
Oh, the Altos research. This is the guy that's really good. Yeah.
We go.
Frenzy keep up through the second market frenzy keep up through the second half of the year, or are buyers starting to get scared off by high prices? Triggers for some new inventory to come to market soon. That's the data we are keeping our eyes on this year and in the next few weeks. And today, as we wrap up the summer buying season, each week, Altos Research tracks every home for sale in the country, all the pricing, all the changes in pricing, all the supply and demand, and we present those metrics here for you so that you can see them before it becomes available in the traditional media channels, the headlines. So it's now Monday, July 19th, 2021, and here's the data for the week. Let's start this week looking at the available inventory of unsold single-family homes in the U.S. Inventory climbed again this week to 390,000. That's up 4.75% from last week, which is low, of course, due to the July 4th holiday reporting. But it's a strong increase nonetheless. We likely have 2 more weeks of climbing inventory before the school year is upon us and the new listings start each week to ease off as we go into fall. Our inventory increase this year could be extended a couple of weeks into August, as the hot market is definitely drawing sellers cashing in on equity, and the time to sell is so fast that sellers are unafraid to list later in the summer. Transaction volume will likely, therefore, remain unseasonably high. So 2 weeks more of climbing inventory, maybe as many as 4 weeks more, with total available inventory of unsold homes on the market at any moment peaking at about 400,000 in a few weeks. Last year, this time, we were at 647,000 homes, but just declining every day. Last year, because of remote work and remote schools, people could much more easily buy in the middle of September or October. And so our inventory declines accelerated along with the low interest rates. So this year, unless and until we get mortgage rates climbing, then you can assume that buyer demand stays hot, inventory will shrink as usual at the end of the year, ending up at more, like maybe only 230,000 homes, 230,000. So we have our normal seasonal pattern happening, but we're in a new normal of far fewer homes available. As we've been sharing this year, one of the most powerful measures of this buyer demand and whether it's holding up as the booming market gets kind of old, this is our immediate sales metric. So of the 109,000 single family homes that hit the market this week, 25,000 of them sold immediately. So if you're a buyer or you're watching your local market, you'll experience this in the form of bidding wars and offer deadlines. The house gets listed today. We're taking offers Wednesday, and we're in contract before the weekend. You can still see this happening all over the U.S. even as we wrap up the summer buying season. 109,000 new listings this week is actually very strong, but it also shows us still that there are far more buyers than sellers. Home prices, unsurprisingly, are fixed this week at $399,000. We've been at this plateau for several weeks now. It's the median price of a single-family home in the U.S. Again, this shows us that demand is still elevated at a time of year when it's not uncommon for demand to be weakening. in 2018 and 2019, you can see that by mid-July, median home prices have already started easing back a few percent from the spring peak. That's the dark red line here. Last year, prices stayed elevated much later, and that's why we ended the year with the double-digit price gains. We're on the same pattern this year, actually, as last year. So August, finally, we'll start seeing our median home price tick down a little bit week over week. A couple more weeks at our plateau here. The price of the newly listed cohort, that's the dotted line on this chart, appears to be just starting to pull back now. Normally, this group peaks with a peak of the market precisely the last week of May. The price of the new listing leads the rest of the market as sellers and listing agents know exactly how strong the demand is, and they price accordingly when they bring a new house to market. They know, for example, that the house down the street had 20 offers, and so there are still 19 buyers trying to buy the next house. There's no reason yet to start cutting prices. So until those sellers see demand weakening, market time climbing, for example, immediate sales falling, that's when they know that they have to start pricing a little lower. This should happen in the next few weeks. So there are buyers, for example, who have been in the market all summer, but they're now looking at the start of the school year, and they will likely in August stop being in the buyer's market, and they'll put it off until next spring. And so you have the normal yearly cycles in this data. The signal here to pay attention to in the dotted green line is that normally this starts to be visible in June, but is only now just starting to show up a full month later than normal. So no sign of any kind of buyer bidding fatigue, really, nothing really, at least not enough to be at all worrisome. And that, of course, brings us to year-over-year price changes. So how strong will 2021 finish? In this week, we measure the difference in median price this week versus the same week a year ago. By mid-July last year, remember, we were still in shock about how strong the market was, how quickly prices were rising, how steep this curve was. As the pandemic hit last year in March, we started doing these videos each week because, frankly, we expected the market to crash. And we wanted to be able to know, and we wanted you to be able to know what was happening as it was happening. By July, there was a real turning point for market forecasting. So if you use a traditional approach for forecasting home price, probably use closed sales and maybe things like unemployment in your models. And so by July of last year, both of those things were really, really bad. So in July, you only see the sales that were happened in March, April, May. And that in the pandemic time, those were really low. So by July, the traditional forecasters were really still calling for a 5 to 10% decline in home prices this coming year. And this is when the Altos data really shines. So because we're watching the active market, we're watching not stuff that happened months ago. We can see right now where demand is and where prices will be in the future. Prices were skyrocketing. There's no way the market was going to be a down market. Even though there were millions that were newly unemployed. This year, we can see in this chart how the annual price changes have declined from their frenzy in March and April, and that we're going to finish the year in this 12% appreciation range. This also suggests that next spring is unlikely to be as crazy as this spring. So 2022 will be more likely to be in a 5 to 7% price gain range, unless, of course, interest rates make a big move one way or the other and change the affordability metric for all these buyers. Okay, what you get. Demand is staying strong later into the summer, later than most years. It's not as unseasonal as last year's, work and home, school from home craziness. In the next few weeks, we should see inventory peak and then the normal decline through the latter half of the year. If something unusual hits the market, you can be sure we're going to look at it here. We'll see it here first and we'll report it here. Until then.
So that was technical difficulties on their YouTube channel, not on our part. So sorry for that, but I think you guys all got the message. A couple of, I've written down some bullet points here that you guys can regurgitate or narrate to your sphere and on your social media page. So month over month, inventory is up 4.75%. Median prices have plateaued so far and aren't really expected to go up much more really before the end of the year as inventory peaks in August. Michael's been saying that we'll have an inventory peak. I've been sharing this and I firmly believe it in watching the outside numbers, the hot sheets, the pendings, the solds, the list price versus sales price, all that language of real estate that we've been talking about over 2 weeks ago. Currently, a lot of people are thinking there's some buyer fatigue in the marketplace or weakened demand. That doesn't seem to be holding true as the unit counts are maintaining. We did see a little bit of drop for 4th of July week, but the numbers are still there for buyer demand. We should finish off the year at about a 12% year over year appreciation range, and 2022 still expected to see the 5 to 7% anticipated equity build nationwide through 2022. That's going to probably be in pockets like Sacramento here. We'll probably see continued growth above that 5 to 7% range as more and more people are exiting California for outside states, and more folks are moving here from the Bay Area in general. So wanted to share that with you. While we're here, before we get started on today's lesson, anybody have anything else they want to share in regards to the market, what they're seeing, immediate pulse?
I'll give you a little snippet from around here. I've had a couple. It just depends on the property. Honestly, I've had one that went very quickly, but a lot of people were hot and heavy over it. And then on the day that we decided to take offers, I only did get one offer on it, and it was a great offer, but still a lot of people were sort of clamoring for it, and then it just dropped, and nobody, people just sort of didn't write. Some people are sitting back in the market waiting to see if there's price reductions happening, and I've already seen quite a few actually coming through, and buyers are just a bit ambivalent right now. They're kind of like sitting there just waiting to see what's happening. So it is definitely interesting market here anyway.
Okay. Very cool.
John, for us, one of the things that I thought was kind of interesting is we had, just in our metro list, we had 240 price reductions yesterday.
Interesting. Yeah. I'd be interested to know, maybe we can dive into that a little bit, Rich, and see which quartile of price points were the most that had the reductions,
This is Ivana. I'd like to know as well, because were they out the gate pricing them too high?
Yeah, probably. I mean, that's the general nature of what happens in this type of market. But
Yeah.
just interesting to know, hey, were those $1 million plus? Were those 750 and below? Were those 500 and below? It seems like in a lot of cases, the homes are locally, like in Citrus Heights and maybe even North Highlands. Somebody told me they got something in North Highlands in escrow for 450. I think a lot of those people are just really overshooting what the market will hold, contingent upon the financing. And we are seeing, just in my own personal inventory, I'm starting to see a little bit of consumer confidence lack, in that we're having a little bit more fallout. And that makes me even more stringent upon the type of offers that we're accepting, and diving deep into their qualifications, because I'll sure as hell tell you, a lot of the newer agents that are in this game aren't vetting, aren't really getting the qualification and understanding the client before they're out there writing offers. That's what I'm seeing in that lower price range, under like $500,000. So let's dive in on that one, Rich, and report back and see what, we can just see what those reductions are really quickly and sum it up as far as a price point is concerned, because that's interesting statistics for me. Anybody else seeing anything out there that they'd like to share? A couple of appraisals came in at numbers that were astronomically higher than I thought that they would come in at. So where we had this lag, personally, where I felt we had this lag of what appraisers were thinking was going to happen to the market, or how they were anticipating market growth. Now it seems to have caught up where the appraisers are going, okay, we'll bring it in at that number. That could be a couple of different things. That could be, number one, them understanding the market, which we hope is what happened. But number two is the lenders that are using them, calling them and saying, and having the conversation like, hey, we're gonna douche you out if you don't bring these numbers in, because we can't be losing deals. And I think maybe it's a little bit of both.
I just had somebody pay $2,100 for an appraisal.
Yeah. Same. Yeah, I
I
know.
think perspective on this, we're still in an under 60-day market. So it's still strong in respect to being a seller's market.
Yes.
But the numbers have changed, I think, pretty dramatically, where we were seeing 10, 20 offers on a property. Right now, I think we're probably more like 3, or something like that in a week, which is still a hot market.
Right.
To me, the perspective on this is making sure that we're pricing appropriately so we don't get caught in a long hold period with listings, and making sure that the seller understands, where the real value is. And if the market's strong enough, it will still drive the price up.
Right. Totally agree. And using some of these statistics and numbers and information and certainly does help. It's helped to solidify that, as we look at going into that listing appointment and getting the right price, getting the right condition, and getting the right, all those things. The statistics have helped me to win over and get the house priced correctly so it moves. Okay, so that being said, let's move into today's listen. Before we jump in, I'm gonna share a little bit about, okay, I'm gonna be launching a weekly class for our organization, Ultra Accountability Coaching Class. The elements of this will be delivered later, but it's going to be really, we had this title last time called All In Call, which was our, for agent attraction, but really this is gonna be an all in for your business ultra accountability, where if you don't do the homework and you're not hitting the numbers that you've agreed to initially, you're going to be kicked off the accountability call. So that's coming. Information will be delivered next week. Also wanted to let you guys know I did sign up as a licensee for Grant Cardone to be able to use his name for seminars and one-on-one coaching and business coaching. And the idea and the thought behind this was that, really, I got it from coming down and seeing Hal in Irvine. We had we blast emailed out and sent that information via Facebook, and had a pretty good turnout. Had some calls outside of people who attended who said, "Hey, we're interested in the model." And I thought, well, if we had a Trojan horse in certain marketplaces where it wasn't EXP necessarily who's coming down there, Sean from EXP or Hal from EXP, but actually using a well-known, trusted sales trainer, that maybe we can get some more outside brokerage influence, or outside attendance, at those events. And so we're going to be doing those events mainly for you guys. I mean, this is the reason I'm doing this for you. We're also going to recalibrate our training calendar through the end of the year to start utilizing some of these great sales training programs that Grant's packaged up and has available. So be on the lookout for a new training calendar through the end of the year. And if this is something that you want to collaborate on and have some of your own events through using the Grant Cardone name, that is why I'm doing it. So more information to come on that, but we're going to certainly use this information. Next, I want to share with you that I know a couple of you are going to this. I think Hal and Rich already bought their tickets. So tickets are still available. You can go to visit thebuildconference.com, but Tony Robbins, August 17th through 19th. Also, put on your calendar EXPCon, which will be our first major back at it event for EXP, which is November 9th and 11th in Vegas. And locally here in the Sacramento area or Northern California area, expect to see you guys all here if you're local. This is just a 2-hour class next Thursday, July 29th in Rockland. Please go and register. It's free, and it's specific to landing, listing, and getting offers accepted. This is a great opportunity to invite some of your potential agent attraction folks to this. And then myself and Brent and Matt and Spencer will be in the Bay on August 3rd from 12 to 3. We just secured that venue, Devil's Canyon Brewery in San Carlos. Another great event to attend. Bring your organization and bring potential, folks who you've been talking to about EXP. So any questions on those events? No? Okay. So here we go. Today's class was going to be about disclosures, but I got to be honest with you, it's a pretty boring topic for me, and it's not what we need on Wednesday. So I suggest if we'll have a follow-up call on disclosures and the listing agreement. If you'd like something one-on-one, please call me. But I did notice today, this morning when I woke up early, that Debbie Penning was holding a class in regards to disclosures and writing a contract. So really what I got in my mind today was, man, what would be for those of you who aren't hitting the goals or aren't feeling the full potential of this market, what are some simple 3-step frameworks we can utilize to finish the year strong? We had the check-in call, I don't know, about a month ago. And I'm still hearing from some folks out there, hey, I'm not hitting those numbers. There's not really a system. There's no goal for the end of the year. So let's recalibrate on this and have a conversation around a couple of these things. How do we finish the year off strong? What is our extreme focus on the number one goal to end the 2021 year and launch 2022? We know through looking at the numbers, through inventory, we're still going to have strong real estate markets through 2022 and possibly through the middle of 2023, dependent upon interest rates. I don't think there's any conversation around rates changing. And so in that, we want to be very clear, very direct in our approach, in our diagnosis of what's happening, and in doing the activities and doing the things that really make us money. So I want to ask you internally, what motivates you? Is it the stick? Is it the praise? Is it what is it? Is it the product, if you will, of buying something? But what motivates you? And have you found the right environment coming out of COVID that will help you succeed in the new year? Have you set up there's 2 things that make you change, really 3 things that make you change. Number 1 is environment, changing the environment to a conducive environment. Number 2, the education, knowing what you need to know or what you haven't known in the past, and then utilizing those 2 things, education and environment, to change the habits of how you're going to maneuver forward and what you're going to change. So we understand that if we are comfortable that we're not in this growth mode. So I'm going to challenge you as part of this conversation today to get uncomfortable. Getting into that gym and doing the setups and making the run and changing the diet is not comfortable, but ultimately it helps us to grow. Another thing before we dive into the content is we have to think we're too busy. I talk to real estate agents all day and they say, I'm too busy, I'm too busy. And it's really because we're not living a structured day, a day by design with a modeled system. So that's going to be a topic of conversation today. What does our day by design look like? And are we following some type of modeled system? Maneuvering into this. Coaching is asking questions. You guys all know that. So if you're sitting down with me right now, with your coach, with your accountability partner, what is the one focus for the rest of the year that you would prioritize, that you would tell me as your coach, Ben, this is the one thing I need to focus on to get me to where I want to be. And this is the everyday, all in, no bullshit thing that you're going to do, characteristic, thing, topic, action that you're going to do to change the course of 2021, to blow out where you wanted, to overshoot the goals. If you're hitting your goals, guys, now's the time to reevaluate them, because that means there's potential left in there that you're not utilizing. So let's recalibrate those goals. And we got to go back and we got to say, man, so many people are drama ridden throughout the day because they're not living a day by design. They're scheduling personal things during the middle of the day. They're going to pick up dry cleaning and, you know, going to dentist appointments, getting the hair done, all those things that aren't protecting the work time that's needed to reach that goal. So when you query top producing agents, these are and if I asked you guys right now, hey man, what's the one thing that you're going to come up with? You would say, well, things such as these 14 topics that I've listed here. Man, I really need to focus on my transaction count and my volume account, and my volume and my GCI and my profitability, and how my operational excellence looks, and what my brand looks like, and what my life of the lead is, and how I'm funneling those, and listing appointments, and number of listings taken, and additions to the database, and contractual knowledge, and all these things. But in reality, when you query the top 5%, this is according to Tom Ferry, when you query the top 5% of agents and you give them a list like this, and you say, select one of these things that will change the course of my year, it's listing appointment schedule, especially now. Now, in the past, we all know, we've heard the old adage from KW, lead listings leverage. But right now, this really has to be your focus, the number one goal that's going to get you market share for the rest of the year and in 2022, the beginning of 2023. So the number one leading key indicator of your success in this is face-to-face appointments. Obviously, face-to-face appointments with people who are selling or buying, but with potential prospects or referral sources. So ask yourself, last week, self-diagnosis, how many face-to-face appointments did we have with prospects? How many face-to-face appointments did you have with referral sources? How tight is that schedule? If this was the key indicator for your success. So right now, number one, we've got to decide to be an appointment setting, value delivering, trust building machine. Think about what that looks like for you right now. How many appointments can you handle next week? If I called you and said, hey, Rich, or hey, Hal, or hey, Eileen, or how many listing appointments can you handle next week? That's the question I want you to think about asking yourself at the beginning of each week. As the coach, it's like, okay, how many are we going on this week? And that's going to that really is going to determine, from a coaching perspective, the diagnosis of what you're doing with that time for the previous week. So how do we do this? I'm hearing all the time. I know agencies say, man, they're too busy to call, to pop by 5 people a day, to call 5 people a day. These are the same ones that have no savings or too much debt, or they're too busy for family, or they're complaining regarding inventory. It's simple. We have to talk to 5 people a day. I'm going to break that down in a minute. We have to see 5 people a day. So do you get where I'm at? The bottom line is, do you get where I'm at with this? It's like, we've got to follow the system for success, a modeled system that builds your business around appointments face-to-face with people, and we must act on these numbers. So, I say, look, we don't have a lot of people on the call today, and a lot of you guys, I really appreciate it, because you're top producers who log into this call, and you're doing it to support me, and you're doing it to support the organization. But the bottom line is, hey, man, I'm talking to you. You got more potential. If you're rocking it right now, you got more potential. You need to work on systematizing it so you can keep building market share for yourself to get to your goals. Look in the mirror and say, hey, I'm not living up to my potential, and not living up to my potential is internal treason, and in reality causes guilt. So for those of you who aren't hitting those goals, now's the time. You got to solve the problem and do the work. Nothing comes easy, especially in this industry. So we talk about knowing and acting on our daily numbers. Here's the bottom line. When we look at, if you said, hey, I want to do 24 escrows next year, or 24 escrows before the end of the year, 24 escrow, for every 50 people that you call that you have a conversation with, that's going to equal 1 escrow. So I can calculate empirically what these numbers look like by saying, if I want to do 24 escrows, I need to talk to 50 people per escrow. That's 1,200 conversations a year. Breaking that down into a month, I got to have 100 conversations a month. And if I'm working a 20-day month, 5 days a week, that's 5 conversations a day. Now I'm going to go back and I'm going to say there's some rhyme and reason to the 55111. You know how many people use the 55111 out of 160 people that I have in my organization? Less than about 4%. It's a 95%, 5% business. 95% of the business done by 5% of the agents. These numbers are not by default, they're by design. You get your 5 new contacts, you get your 5 follow-ups, you do your social media posts and additions to KB Core, and you schedule your appointments and you send out your thank you cards. And I'm adding one more on there, which is that you keep your appointment. Scheduling it is not good enough. You got to go and keep it that day. But 5 conversations a day will change the scope of your business. If you think, I want you to think about this. You can close your eyes or not close your eyes, but if I gave you 1,200 more conversations for 2022, how's that going to look for your business? Right? So we really got to commit to, what's the word I'm looking at? Commit to sacrificing some time here. Again, it's 5 conversations a day, 5 conversations. And Tom Ferry says those people who are having 5 conversations a day will make 3 times as much money as those people who are just running their business by default. 5 conversations a day, not too much to ask, and very predictable in the outcome. So we go back and we design our ideal day. We start with a personal morning routine that fires you up. That's involved in some book reading or exercise or mindset or yoga, reviewing their goals or affirmation. Why? Because we've got to do something positive in the morning that gets rid of that negative self-talk, right? We talked like, I don't know, about 2 months ago about getting rid of the negative talk. There's about 60,000 negative words, negative thoughts that go through each of our minds every day between the news and what we hear and what we're reading and the gossip that occurs around us and our daily interactions. We've got to set ourselves personally up so that we're in control of the day. Number 2, we've got to have a business morning routine that hits those numbers, those goals. And this is talking about the daily hot sheet and studying the market and doing a bit of role playing, objection handling, and listening to some of those things. If you don't have a role play partner, it's easy. Go to YouTube and Google, hey, I want to talk about making calls today. I want to talk about popping by and what should I say? All those things are in there. And then we go 5, 5, 4, 2, make your calls, do your pop buys. Manage your day task. Number 3, manage your day tasks. Check in on your TC and pendings, launch your list, launch the listings that need to be listing check-ins, execute on your marketing plan, growth and nurtures. And then 4 is the most important thing. Go on those appointments. You guys have heard me say over and over and over and over and over again. And the reason I'm doing that is because, again, sometimes some of those are going to pop, light bulb pops and you go, man, regardless of if I'm meeting with those listings or buyers or referral partners or sphere of influence or whoever it is, I have to go on those appointments and engage people every day and have conversations with them. The reason I put this over here, many of you, I'm going to come back and say, between these 2, morning routine and daily tasks, many of you aren't using the tools and resources. You're not plugged in to systems that will help you succeed, such as KB Core. If you don't have the mobile app, if you're not using it for dialing, if the updates aren't there and you're not using the dashboard, man, now is the time. The word I was looking for earlier was surrender. Now is the time to surrender to these systems and getting that routine done and the information compiled. And then, so if we started with a design my ideal day with these 3 main topics, then we could move into a week. Some of you need a weekly checklist. Some of you need a daily checklist that breaks it down to the bare minimum with some type of a binder that keeps you accountable to that. And what does that look like? Well, everything is around your growth or the extension of you into the marketplace. So filming 1 or 2 shows and we're studying the competition, we're reviewing our numbers from the previous week. and we're doing our coaching sessions, and we're developing our skills, and we're holding our team meetings if we have teams, reviewing the projects. And I'm going to show you personally what I've compiled so that you know what we're working on. And we're doing our projects, and we're business to business follow up, and we're following with past past sellers and buyers, and we're managing our marketing plan, and we're listing homes, and we're selling homes, and we're closing homes, and we're previewing properties. And all of these things that we do on a weekly basis, here's what I'll share with you. If you have no system, drama will creep in, and you will not be as productive as you can be. And now is your time over these next 16, 18 months to go out and get market share and blow it out for your family. There's been no better time in real estate than now to go out and get your unfair share. Now's the time. You got to put in the hard work. If you're not working 8 hours a day, man, you're falling behind your competition, because people are out there outworking you. Then we can move into more of a daily checklist, where we go back and we have these powerful morning routines, and we're checking the box on each one of these topics that we've just talked about above. And we talk about the monthly checklist. Man, are we reviewing everything in our business at the end of the month? Are we looking at P&L? Are we looking at research and development? What should we be investing into our business for the next month? And we're setting aside money for taxes and investments, and we're reviewing our quarterly marketing campaigns and the results that we have. These are topics that we can use to grow, and that's the main goal here. And so clarity looks something like this, man. Here's this guy has appointments booked and listings, listing appointments gone on and canceled and gone and listed by how many were listed and how many were never listed. There has to be this clarity of goal for you, saying whether it's unit count, volume, or gross commission income, what does that look like? We've got to really dive in and create that roadmap for ourselves. And what I find, guys, is most of us just industry wide aren't having this, unless you have a coach. You're not sitting down and you're not having these reflective conversations on yourself. And as a result, you're living a real estate life by default. And what happens is this compounds year over year over year over year over year over year, to the point where after 5-6 years, you're still in the same spot that you were before. And I'll tell you what happens. New agents come in and they leapfrog because they're having these clarity conversations with themselves. This is what we need to do. Here's what ours this is my current board in my office right now. We know what's active. We know what's pending. We know what's coming soon. We know who our current seller leads are and our buyer leads are. We know what projects in each one of these organization, current real estate projects that we're working on, corporate care, and things that we're working on in the internal sales team. Take some time out and put this information together. And it's simple. What happens is you go, man, if it's on there now, I guarantee this, all of these things will be done before the end of the year. All of these things will be done before the end of the year. And we'll start 22 with a new list of things that we need to work on, because there's continued growth there. Okay. And, today's decision is about these three things. Focus on the number one goal, which is appointment setting. How do you get there? Many of you are going, Sean, how do I get there? How do I get those appointments? You got to go back here, guys. You got to go back to committing to these 50 conversations. And the next conversation that many of you are asking, and guys, who are organizational leaders, I want you to take this back to your crew. I want you to take this conversation of the people who aren't on this call, and I want you to call and have a personal call with them and say, it's time for you to plug in. It's time for you to know and act on your daily number. Who are your 50 conversations, or excuse me, who are your 5 conversations tomorrow? You got people out there. I guarantee we got 80% of our organization. Do you take your own? I don't know if where are you, Rich? If you're still on the call or not, but Rich and Hal, Eileen, we've got to take these conversations back to our people and say, 5 conversations a day. Who are you calling tomorrow? Where are those 3 lead levers? Where's the organization there? Is it your database? Is it your referral partners? Is it your sphere of influence? Is it your past clients? Is it corporations? I don't care who it is, but we've got to have these conversations a day. So if you're lost, going back here, that's where it starts. Focus on your number one goal under those lead levers. Act on that daily number, which is the 551111. And here's the deal. I'm not seeing enough. So Eileen, you do a really good job of this on LinkedIn specifically. So I got to give you kudos, but I'm not seeing enough social media stuff from you guys. I look at your, believe it or not, I do look at your social media channels, if you will. And I look to see what you're narrating and what you're sharing with your clients. And I'm not seeing enough content there. So we've got to act on those daily numbers, specifically social media, because that's a database touch. And then I left this blank, but design your ideal day, your ideal week, your ideal month. We've got templates for this. If you need them, email me because it's already been done before. You don't have to go in and recreate the wheel. But the bottom line is, as we walk away from this, we need clarity. We need this type of clarity. Here's what needs to be done. Here's what's currently happening. Here's what we're looking for. We need this type of clarity, so that we hit those waypoints. In when you're flying airplanes, man, there's waypoints. We go from point A to point B to point C to point D. This is the roadmap. These two things, something along this, some game piece. And then systematize it because it makes life easier on you, whether that's with the transaction coordinator, with an action plan within Brivity for leads, KV Core with leads, or some kind of a program for transactional systemization, such as Brivity or something, a top producer, something along those lines. But as you look at your finishing the year strong, what I like to see next week from all you guys is this. I'd like you to design your ideal day and say, hey, here's what it looks like. Here's my morning routine. Here's my business morning routine. And here's how I'm going to manage the day so that I can focus. These three things set you up for this so that I can go on these appointments, not be distracted, not be putting fires out, be in a good state of mind, and I can secure those appointments and get those referrals. Okay. That's what I have for today. I think I don't have anybody joining in, so we're finishing a little bit early, but any feedback? No. Good stuff. Finish the year strong, guys. Next week, we're going to start our first week for Cardone training. I'll send out the topic. We're going to burn through a bunch of good sales stuff. Okay. All right, guys. That's it. Peace.
Thanks, Sean.
Okay. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.